Today in the garage, live from CES 2025, SDVerse. Let's go. Welcome to the garage. I'm John Heinlein, Chief Marketing Officer with Sonatus. We're recording live at CES 2025, right from the Sonatus booth. Today in the garage, we have a special guest from SDVerse. My guest today is Prashant Gulati, the CEO of SDVerse. Prashant, welcome to the garage.
Right. John, thank you for having me.
It's so nice to have you here. We've been talking about this for a while. Maybe we can get to that later. I was so glad we happened to run into each other at the show, and we were able to corral you at the last minute to be on the show. Yeah. Tell us a little bit first about yourself and your background.
Yeah, so I have a computer science background. I worked in interesting startups, then worked with Fujitsu, did my MBA, then from the Indian School of Business. Met my wife there. So I know something about return on investment.
Nice.
Right. And at that point is when I sort of switched to, found interest and switched to automotive. Worked with KPIT, Cummins, Faraday Future. And now I'm here. I'm the CEO of SDVerse, a vehicle software marketplace.
That's great. We'll get into SDVerse in a minute.
Yeah.
You got to start, but you got to tell us a fun fact about you.
So maybe I'll make this a fun fact about us, right? Meaning, I am, like I mentioned, I'm the CEO of SDVerse. I love my job. We're doing a lot of really cool stuff. And I owe my current role position to you. And I don't think you know that or knew that.
Tell me about
I'll tell you how. I'll tell you how. So I think, like I mentioned, right, I have a technology background, worked in tech, then in automotive. I did switch out, call it off automotive for some time. I went to work for an AI company, right? I was really enjoying it. And that's when the SDVerse was kind of being set up. And the founding members, GM, Magna, Wipro, they were looking for a CEO, and they were talking to their network and people outside. I didn't know any of them, right? So they reached out, and I was preparing for my interviews. I figured, hey, where can I go learn more about what's happening in SDVs? Like it wasn't, it was like a new concept 2 years ago or a year and a half ago when I interviewed. So I happened to come to YouTube to your podcast.
No.
And just within a few hours, it was like a crash course in automotive. So, you get to hear, you bring together a lot of people from different companies, backgrounds. I learned a lot. And that just, as you can imagine, was super helpful in my discussions and helped me build conviction around the problem that we are solving, which is software and software discovery and all that. So and I'm not making this up. Like, people know this. I've mentioned this before. Like, I owe my where I am to the work that you do and the people that you brought together.
What an incredible story! I'm so honored and humbled that you found that useful, and we're grateful for all the guests that have come on. Essentially, you're paying it forward now for the next person like you. Yeah. But what a great story! Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. I always try and come up with a fun fact to share back to our guests. And I guess the fun fact I'll share is when I got out of grad school, I went to Ph.D. from Stanford. When I got out of grad school, I considered becoming a professor, which is a normal thing, get a Ph.D. And I had some job offers at some very, very reasonable schools. But I decided to go private sector and so on. But I still have this sort of like bug to teach in some sense. And I almost feel like somehow the podcasting is sort of sharing knowledge and not teaching exactly, but kind of illuminating ideas in the world. So that's kind of maybe gets my teaching bug a little bit.
Yeah, and I think, we're kindred spirits in that regard because, a lot of the work that you're doing is not only for your company, it's for the industry. And that's how I think of SDVerse also. It's like this was set up for the industry, by the industry. Anyway, we'll talk more about it.
That's a perfect transition. Thank you so much for those kind words. I really appreciate it. Let's talk about SDVerse then. Yeah. Tell us about SDVerse. You mentioned some of the founders. How did it come about? What are the goals?
So I think there's generally been this transition from industries perfected the art of doing hardware that comes coupled with software, right? Like to unlock the magic, the promise of software-defined vehicles, one of the key driving factors is software has to be done separate from hardware, right? Unlocks a lot of use cases, you get more and faster updates, more safety applications, so on and so forth. So, but it's just, it's hard to do that. That supply chain for procuring software separate from hardware does not exist, right? So what SDVerse is doing is we are a vehicle software marketplace where buyers and sellers of automotive software come and find software. So as an example, if you're an OEM, right, you're looking for park assist software or lane change or battery management, right? Before you decide to make it by yourself, or before you decide to buy, you'll come on our platform, you'll look for it. We'll show you these suppliers that are offering that software. We'll show you how they compare against each other, whether they're compatible with your technology stack or not. And then you can talk to them, you can issue RFIs on the platform, etc. So the whole idea originated between our founding members, GM and Magna and Wipro, right? Since then, we've had significant adoption. We have about 17 companies on the platform, including Cummins, including NXP, Valeo, TT Tech, FEV, Forvia, Bosch, and many others. And we have quite a few smaller high-growth companies also. Popcornsar and Soda Auto out of the UK, and quite a few others. So, I mean, we launched on September 30th, our marketplace of 2024, right? So about 3 months ago. Interestingly, and we're very grateful for this. The state of Michigan declared our product launch day as the day of automotive software discovery and innovation in the state of Michigan. Yeah. So it's unprecedented, never happened before. I think we've gotten good adoption. GM is one of our power buyers. They have seen good success on the platform. Some others have as well. So, very grateful for how things have turned out so far. But we're getting started.
And there's an old saying about, obvious ideas are easy once you've thought of them. Right. And I think that it seems like such an obvious thing because if you just do a random Google search or whatever you're going to get a damn mess.
Right.
You're not going to understand the capabilities. You're not going to be able to compare in any way apples to apples. Correct. You're not going to understand compatibility. It's not a useful, because we've tried this and historically you look for that. So you're solving a specific kind of a marketplace problem. So I think that's really, really clever. Now, my understanding is it's not like you're a channel. People don't have to sell through you. There's no sales commission. You're helping to broker to some extent these two things. Can you talk a little bit about that business model a little bit?
Yeah. So let me just add, pick on one thing that you started with, right? I mean, you're so right about the way we look at things is there's just our estimate. There are consulting companies like Roland Berger, like McKinsey. We've read their estimates. There's about 40 billion software spending that happens every year, right? A large percentage, close to 60%, goes towards development, then validation, verification, and then testing and all that. The process of spending or allocating that spend is very unstructured, very analog right now. So if you're
inefficient,
exactly, right? So you're an engineer, you want to, let's say, buy software, you're going to pick up the phone and call a handful of suppliers, you'll do Google searches, you'll go to conferences. It takes about 6 to 8 months from discovery to RFQ to RFI. We're taking that 6 to 8 months down to a few hours, if not a few days, right?
Wow.
So that's the kind of difference by making it digital, making it discoverable, making it very structured. We have our IP in about 180 attributes or so, right? That we collect all of this information, right? So that unstructured process is becoming very structured and kind of making a huge difference to this.
We talked about business model. I'll come back to that in a second, but just because building on what you just said is really interesting. As far as the marketplace goes, two related questions. The first is, how much you're new, right? So there's no value judgment at all.
Right.
How much critical mass are you seeing so far in terms of the progress of filling out the marketplace? Yeah. What's your kind of sense of it?
So we launched in September with about 160 software products, right? 163, and then that number went very quickly to 200 plus, right? Now we are looking at closer to 250, right? We are in the final stages of sort of going through this, making sure the quality is right, the information is right. So by the end of this month, we'll have about 250 software components from all of our 17 partners that we have on the platform. And we're not focused, not just, and partners are as well, not just on the number of softwares, but quality of software is also, right? And talking about the business model, to your point, we don't take, it's a fixed fee model, annual subscription fee model. There's no transaction fee. There's no limits on consumption usage. So you could have unlimited logins, unlimited search, unlimited activity. You could buy 100 softwares. You could buy 10 softwares. It's all the same from a cost point of view.
Okay.
Right?
Well, that's very cost effective then.
Yeah.
And what about when I think about blocks? You talked about some kind of examples. Do I think of these as large blocks, small, anywhere in between? I mean, what's the spectrum?
So we have, there's enough flexibility. So we have these partners that I mentioned, 10 of them, like the 3 founding members and a few launch partners. We meet with them, and these are industry experts, right? We meet with them practically every week. We get a lot of feedback from them on how to develop the platform. So there is a lot of flexibility built into the platform. Now, to answer your question about how this is built is we map the entire vehicle domain, right? So you can sell onboard software, offboard software, tools and services on the platform, right? And within onboard, we have this entire vehicle mapped out. So you could sell ADAS solutions, infotainment solutions, fuel injection, battery management, chassis controls, everything. Anything that has anything to do with software, it can be sold on the platform. And you can sell right from small components to blocks to reference designs. All of that is possible on the platform.
That's exciting.
Yeah, and just to clarify one thing, our platform is not like a GitHub, so you don't log in and download software.
Of course.
I mean,
sure.
and Automotive is so far like you can't just download and plug and play, right?
Sure.
But what we do is we create transparency around like the information about the software, right? And then we help OEMs compare software offerings, and then they can, if they have questions, they can message sellers to get more information, and then issue RFIs on the platform.
Yeah, and just to clarify one thing for our listeners, I know the answer, but let's hear you say it is. If someone were to go, let's say someone was on your marketplace and they do find some software they like, they're not signing paper with you. Nope. They're signing it with the provider.
Exactly.
You're helping them to meet and broker and connect, but you're not in the way of the transaction.
100%.
In a channel kind of a situation, that can be really challenging to have, is it your legals or someone's legals? That can be a real barrier.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's really smart.
Correct. So we are not taking over the procurement function of any company or the legal aspects of it. We help like match make, and then we kind of step away. Then it's between the OEM and the seller, how they want to transact, how they want to negotiate pricing, warranty, so on and so forth.
And do you have any examples of maybe any representative, I'm not looking for secret information, but any representative deals or some success stories maybe you could share?
Yeah, so we will be publishing some early next week as part of our CES recap. We have one OEM where they found a supplier that they would not have talked to otherwise, right? At all.
Great.
So the beauty for the OEM is it just instantly saved. They found out that somebody is actually doing that work, right? They would not have been on their bid list earlier.
Okay.
Good for the supplier because they have the possibility to generate business. And then same thing, we've got another case study where they're using our platform to build their bid list. So they log into the platform, see who's selling software that they're interested in, and that seller goes into the bid list. Then another long term, but we are very focused right now on getting a few things right.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll do you a favor because the way it works is we don't stream these episodes live, as you know, so we'll do some post-processing. So because this will publish after CES, if you share it with us, send us a link to that case study. We'll put it in the show notes. Okay. So if you're listening to this or watching the show, you can read more about it right by clicking below on the link that we'll provide you about that. Yeah. Well, look, it's so wonderful to run into you. We wish you the best of success in this. I think as you're solving a problem the industry needs. I'm glad we were able to hook up at CES, and good luck in your progress in the weeks ahead.
Likewise. Always good to see you. Thank you so much.
We had a chance to see you a number of times, and it was just so funny that we were able to capture you while we had our studio here at CES.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity and getting a chance to share what we are up to at SDVerse, with your audiences. So I appreciate that.
Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you, John. Bye.
If you like what you're seeing here on the show, please like and subscribe so you can see more episodes like this in the future. And we look forward to having you follow us again on another episode of The Garage very soon. Thanks very much.